The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me. Do you think that you could repeat the question and I listen more attentively?
Obviously, Tim doesn't sing.
Yeah, he doesn't do the Paul thing. Bah, bah, bah.
I can sing. My
Yep.
Yeah, I can sing. I sang the We Love Methuen song. Did you ever hear that?
No.
Oh gosh.
I wasn't aware there was a We Love Methuen
Do a
song.
little Google search. It's amazing.
I know Mallory did a parody of You're in New York. What is that song? You're in New York. You're in Methuen at St. Patrick's Day roast. It was just pretty hysterical. Hey kids, how you guys doing? We are live here on the Paying Attention podcast, high atop the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, which is actually high atop Two Guys Smoke Shop here in Salem, New Hampshire.
This is how the other half lives.
This is how the other half lives. We want to thank our sponsors. We've got Veloz Auto Group at 17 Mass Ave in Lawrence. We've got Perez Funeral Home on South Broadway in Lawrence. We have Twin Lights Security. Make sure if you're looking for a private investigator or you're looking for security for any reason, you give Patrick a call. They've got a Facebook page. We've also got A&M Auto Body with Angelo Memolo over there. I got hit in my car a couple of weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
You almost got hit just about 50 minutes ago.
Right, yeah, in the parking lot. I almost backed into you, yeah. And then,
sorry about that.
And so some guy took out my door, and I dropped my car off at A&M Auto Body on South Broadway in Lawrence. Took him about 2 weeks to get it done. I got a rental car, but when I got it back, it looked as good as new. And who else do we have? And, of course, Century 21, Joe Zingalis, Team Zingalis. If you're going to buy a house, you're thinking of selling a house, please give Joe or Rosanna Zingalis-Lopez a call. They have always supported us. They've always sponsored us. They've been with us from the very beginning back in 2004. They sponsor our bash. They give us like $1,000 for scholarships every year to help out the kids.
They're good people.
They are really good people. We want to make sure that they get some business out of what they're doing for us. So sitting to my left is we're kind of doing a continuation of what we were doing earlier in the day, if you didn't catch it, on Looped In Live. Tim Wood, who's the owner of the Loop Weekly newspaper, invited me to come on his show. And by the way, thank you for not caving in to all of the pansies that were calling you and going, you're having Duggan on, he's going to be mean to people. Why are you doing that? And you didn't cave. Most people would have. So I appreciate you doing that. Why don't you tell people a little bit about you? Like, who are you? And we know you own Methuen Loop Weekly, but why did you start that? Like, what made you want to do that?
I've been in media for about 25 years, professionally since I was 19. And it got embarrassing to be called a journalist. I got tired of being told by editors to do things that are just completely against my morals and just what I got into journalism in the first place for. And I was covering politics. I was doing investigative journalism, doing sports. I mean, sports was the best of it. But even now, where sports is gone, covering everything behind the scenes, it's TMZ with bats and balls now. I had always said if I ever, I come from middle class. We was born in Portland, Maine, grew up in Portland and Laconia, New Hampshire. I always said if I ever had any money, that I wanted to start a paper, and I was managing editor of a sports website called Bleacher Report that got bought by a conglomerate, got bought by Turner, and I made some stock money. And my wife of 23 years tomorrow, Debbie,
God bless
anniversary.
Her.
Yeah, thank you. She was like, let's do it, and I ended up down south. I went chasing a minor league baseball general manager job in Savannah, Georgia.
Wow.
And I have a sports background too. I worked for the Yankees. I'm a huge Red Sox fan, but I worked for the Yankees back in the late 90s. And so I'm chasing that. Ended up down there. We wanted to be closer to family. For some reason, they didn't want to come visit us down in the sun in South Carolina. But so we came back up. My sister lives in Methuen. And I would always, my favorite sister of my three, I'm sorry, this is the truth.
I have a favorite sister too.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Becky's my favorite sister.
Yeah, Dee Dee's my favorite, and she's, we're like kindred spirits, and she's she is a realtor and entrepreneur in Methuen, and we always come up, and I just was like, how in the hell does this town not have a paper?
Right.
Like a legitimate, like this town, and so I just took a look at the demographics, and my first instinct was there's got to be a reason. The reason is it's hard.
Yeah, that is the reason. There's no question. That is the reason.
I mean, they had the paper, and I'm forgetting his name. The guy who did the Methuen News.
Oh, Blake Varney.
Blake Varney, thank you.
Listen, you remind me, I knew Blake Varney. I knew Blake Varney very well.
Yeah.
You remind me a lot of Blake Varney. A lot. Especially when I found out that you and Eunice were in a shouting match. I said, you know what, that's something Blake would have done.
You heard about that, too.
I did.
You hear about everything.
I hear everything. Just because I don't, just as a full disclosure to people who follow me and for people who are watching the show, just because I don't talk about everything doesn't mean I don't know what happened, because I usually know pretty much everything that goes on.
We talked about this on your show. Eunice Ziegler is it tops among the power rankings of Methuen city councils right now. Mm-hmm. But I asked her for the finance committee document that they've been referencing in all the city council meetings, mm-hmm. and instead of just having a conversation with me, it went to Richard D'Agostino, the city solicitor, who advised her not to. I still don't know why, and they didn't give it. It's a public document, and they didn't give it. So, yeah, at that point, I got into before one of the budget hearings, I got into it with Rich, I said to Eunice, for someone who campaigned on it and has been a champion of transparency, this is not transparency. It comes off as transparency when convenient.
Right.
So, but
in
her
defense, though, she was going by what the attorneys were telling her, and she's brand new. So I know you don't ever give anybody any kind of leeway.
No, I do.
But
what are you talking about? Of course I do.
Well, unless it's Steve Saban, then you give him all the leeway in the world. But
it's your show.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Jessica, you and Jessica.
Listen, I'm Team Jessica. I make no mistake. I make no bones about it.
What are we going to be teams? It sounds like we're reading Twilight. Like
I think.
Are you Team Jacob?
If Jessica,
wait, is that a bad thing?
What?
Reading Twilight? Should I stop doing that?
No, I love.
All right, just making sure.
It started out having to go there for the wife, but then it's like when I had I got three older sisters. I had to watch soap operas growing up if I wanted to watch any TV.
Right.
And I'm still watching Young and the Restless and General Hospital.
Are you really?
Oh God, yeah.
Wow.
And it's all the same actors from 26 years ago.
Wow. So you started Methuen Loop Weekly, and one of the things that you did is something that I always said I wished that I could do, but I'm completely incompetent at it. I think we could easily triple our advertising revenue tomorrow if I had somebody that knew anything about local sports. Because local sports is one of the things that's so undercovered by the media, and there's such a hunger, there's a thirst out there for people to see their kids playing baseball, to see their kids playing soccer. Methuen High School plays the Vogue, and all those parents want to see their kids. They want to see who got the winning home run. And the Tribune used to do a great job on local sports. Now they suck. And
when they do it well.
Right.
All right. Mike Muldoon wrote a story about Jacob St. Ange, the Methuen kid, the girl that passed away in a car accident in December, Ashley St. Ange, and Jacob, is brother sister bond, and he kept up with track and had a phenomenal. When they do it really well. It's just,
but overall,
all the newsrooms are cut.
Right. Overall, it's not what it used to be. There used to be a whole local sports section in the Trib.
Yeah.
So you were able to capitalize on that because you have a sports background, and you came into Methuen, and one of the first things you started doing was reporting on local intramural sports, like school sports. And
the schools and youth sports. That's where we really cut our teeth.
And I think that's what put you on the map, and that's what gave you the credibility, because now parents are picking you up, and parents who probably normally wouldn't be picking up a weekly paper are picking you up.
I mean, that's the goal. That's the goal. There's already a paper out there that caters to an older generation, and papers in general have catered to an older generation.
Right.
And
you found the formula.
They never pivoted. The papers never pivoted, and they didn't even pivot with. I mean, the internet's just eating them up because they just didn't focus on what they're really good at.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I mean, it's not just because I thought there was a need. I've covered World Series, Super Bowls. I've covered a lot of national sports. Covering local sports has always been by far my favorite thing to do, because they're not tainted. They're just playing it because they love it. They're learning camaraderie. They're learning winning and losing, because we lose in life.
Right.
There's way more losing than there is winning.
That's very
and
true.
the sooner that the kids today learn that, the better off we're all going to be when they're our leaders.
Right.
Because, we talked about this. These kids today, but there's this entitlement that they learn they don't get in sports.
Right. So now you've been doing this for a year. What's the one thing that you've learned that maybe surprised you now that you're at the 1 year point that you wish you knew a year ago when you started?
I was very naive about. I was, my column. I've always called my column Over Medium. My company's called Over Medium Media because my wife named it 20 years ago when I first got my first column. Because I like my eggs over medium, but that's my philosophy. That's my philosophy, and I noticed that when we were at Eli's. I was like, oh, it's all right. I have this cynicism, just over the years, and hereditary, genetic. But I also have this little runny yolk of optimism, and the optimistic, romantic, naive part of me thought that there was a monthly paper there, and they had their thing. And it wasn't it's like a newsprint. They call themselves a magazine, but then when another person came in, they thought, they're the newspaper. And I thought that we could all play in the sandbox nicely.
Right.
That was
not with that guy. You can't.
No, that was my biggest mistake. And I've taken the high road on every instance, but it's been dirtier than some of the politics you see.
Absolutely, and most people don't know. Most people don't see that. When I first started, I thought that myself and Methuen Life would be able to coexist. We both kind of do very different things. They do like very fluffy things like Student of the Month at the Tenney School, and I'm doing hard news stuff. And I thought, we can coexist. So if they want to put their papers on my rack, fine. They can use the bottom two rungs, and if they've got an advertiser that they can't take for some kind of conflict reason, maybe they can send it to us and vice versa. Tim was having no part of that, and up until very recently, I was actually tolerating
Who is it? What, me? Who?
I'm sorry, what did I say, Tim?
Oh boy.
Steve.
Okay.
Steve Whipple. And up until recently, he's got a photographer, Nancy Fielding.
Nancy Reardon.
Wow.
We don't really care that much about last names here. We're Paying Attention podcast.
Yeah.
I'm always screwing it up because my head's going a mile a minute and my mouth can't catch up. But I've
been there.
She's been coming on my page regularly to savage me and to insult me. And I always leave it up because I'm a free speech guy. If someone wants to savage me, I can take it. But at one point she came on, and I forget what it was that she said. It was way over the line. And I thought, you know what? She's a photographer for a competing newspaper who comes on my page to hurt our credibility, to help her news. You know what? Screw her. So I finally blocked her, and I probably should have done it a year ago. But you're right. There's people in this business.
Stories.
There's people in this business that you can work with, and you can be friendly competitors. And then there are people who are just a-holes who want everyone to think that they're nice guys, that want everyone to think that they're being friendly competitors while they're screwing you behind your back. And sometimes not even behind your back. So it's always good to have, when I met you and I heard about you. I didn't know anything about you, and I thought, here's a new guy. Maybe with the emergence of this new newspaper, that there can be some friendly rivalry, that we can actually work together on stuff, and that we can talk to each other and swap ideas and go out for coffee once in a while. And I had everybody telling me that's never going to happen. This guy's in Methuen. He's looking to be friends with all the insiders, and you're not an insider guy, and you always poke the people inside. It's only going to be a matter of time before this guy savages you and hates you. And none of that happened. And I had one of your guys on the show. What's his name?
Nick McCool.
I had Nick McCool up on the show one day. He did a great job.
He did amazing. Yeah.
And he asked me what I thought of your product. And regardless of what I thought you were going to think of me, I just was honest and said, this is a great product. Methuen Loop is a great product. If I didn't own a newspaper and I was out looking for newspapers to read, yours would be the first one I would pick up. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, because if I thought you sucked, for sure I would tell you I think your paper sucks.
And you have told me, we've both been honest with each other.
Yep.
And that's what I appreciate, Tom, is that we can be honest with each other and still be here.
Right, so be civil to each other.
I think we proved in part one of today's special crossover event that we don't agree on everything.
Right. We actually agree on very little.
I like my eggs sunny side up. What does that say about me, Tim?
You're crazy.
Too runny, man. You're too.
You're wishy-washy.
Yeah, you're wishy-washy. You're too. Yeah,
wishy-washy.
I think sissy was the word I was looking for, but I'm not going to say that out loud.
You guys are just lucky my eggs aren't here. I'd throw them at both of you.
All right.
They wouldn't make it to us. They're too runny.
Right? Yeah, they'd fall halfway.
Yeah. There'd be a plate behind them, just to let you know.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So, anything else you want to say about Methuen Loop Weekly? Give a free plug. We're going to take a quick break. We've got.
I see it, and you did way better than I only have my tchotchke on the back of my phone. I didn't bring papers up.
You didn't bring a Methuen Loop?
I can get it, but
all right.
No, yeah, we're trying to just cover Methuen.
Right.
There's good news, and there's stuff that people need to be informed about,
right.
And it's not easy.
Right.
It's that town. We wanted the thing you need to know about in terms of a year later.
Corruption.
A harder town to cover than I thought it was going to be, and I've covered a lot. But yeah,
there's a lot of corruption in Methuen, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit after the next segment. We've got someone who needs a kidney, and this came to my attention through a Facebook internet post by Ted, and so I said, why don't you come into the show? Maybe we can give you some publicity, and maybe somebody out there will be willing to help. So we'll be back after this. We're going to pay some bills. Mr. Jonathan's going to help us get into break, and I'll be back after. A&M Auto Body. We got our friend Angelo over there. Angelo Memolo over there. He does great work on your car. So if you got a ding in your car, somebody hit you, you got a mechanical problem, you bring it to A&M Auto. He's on South Broadway in Lawrence on Inman Street. Angelo will take care of you. So what's the address there?
341 South Broadway, Lawrence, Massachusetts.
Then we got Joe Zingales, Rosanna Zingales-Lopez from Century 21. They have been with us from the very first edition of the Valley Patriot. They've been with us from the very first Paying Attention show, which was in 1999, back when he was Remax. He's not Remax anymore. Now he's Century 21, Team Zingales. And they sponsor our bash. They gave a $1,000 scholarship this year. They gave a $2,000 scholarship last year. And that money comes right out of their pocket. That's not like they're collecting money from other people and just using it like I do. They actually took money out of their pocket. So I don't know why these guys love me so much. I really don't. But Twin Lights, let me tell you how dedicated I am to helping my sponsors. The guys at Twin Lights Security needed an extra security guy to do private investigations and to do security for a certain thing in Boston. And they posted it on my page and asked if it was okay if they could use my page to solicit hiring people. And I said, you know what? As busy as I am, these guys sponsor the show. They sponsor the Valley Patriot. They give us $1,000 for the bash. I'm going to go work for these guys. So I called up Pat McLaughlin and I said, look, you help us every single time we need something. Whenever I put out a call, you're there. If you need an extra person and you're short, I'll take the night off and I'll come work for you. And so I have been. I've been doing some work for them because they're helping us. And so there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to find a way to help them in the meantime. So if you need security or if you're getting divorced and you need a private investigator, if you have a business and you need a private investigator or security, you want to call Twin Lights Security. They're based out of Gloucester, but they're very local. If while I'm driving around Lawrence, I get shot and killed, make sure you get my body to Perez Funeral Home because we do business with the people who do business with us. and he's on South Broadway with it's the old Scott Funeral Home. If you're an old-time Lawrence resident, it's the old Scott Funeral Home on South Broadway. Perez Funeral Home at 298 South Broadway in Lawrence. They do crematory services. They do all the stuff that they're supposed to do, right? And Mike's a big fan of the show. He followed us when we go live. He's an advertiser now in the print edition of the paper, and he's now sponsoring this program. Perez Funeral Home and Crematory Services, 298 South Broadway in Lawrence. We appreciate him. Franklin Veloz from Veloz Auto Group. He specializes in people that have maybe bad credit, no credit. Maybe you haven't had a job for a long period of time, so you don't think that maybe you qualify for a car loan. Usually, they want you to have a job for a year or more. He specializes in getting people who have bad credit or no credit or maybe spotty credit, getting them into a used car. He used to work for Charlie Dare's Commonwealth Motors for a long, long time, so he knows his stuff. I think he was the credit manager over there or something. So he knows what he's doing, and he follows us live, too. I really appreciate that he does. Every time I see him pop on, I'm very excited about it. And I was there yesterday to deliver his newspaper, and he said he's already had customers come in from us talking about him on this show. So we appreciate Veloz Auto Group. Go see Franklin. He's at 17 Mass Ave. It's right at the very beginning of Mass Ave on the Lawrence North Andover line. Alrighty then. I think my levels need to go up just a little bit there, Mr. Jonathan, if that's possible. Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you for joining us today. Tom Duggan on the Paying Attention podcast. I think our last count was about 36,000 downloads. Is that correct, Mr. Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
And we're waiting to find out at the end of June because we get the monthly. So hopefully by the end of June, we'll be up somewhere near like the 50,000 mark. That would be great.
That would be great.
And that also helps us get sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor the show, it's super cheap. It's like $50 a week. Please give us a call or instant message me or email me. I'm very easy to get a hold of. And we will promote the crap out of your business for sure. You see what I do for my other advertisers. I even go shop there. I even got one guy that I'm working for because he needed workers. And I'm like, look, this guy does everything he can for me at Twin Light Security. I'm going to go work for the guy for a little while. So I have been. We have with us Tim Wood from Methuen Loop Weekly. And we're going to continue our discussion about local stuff. But before we do, I got contacted by one of my faithful followers that follows me around when I'm driving around getting shot at in Lawrence. And kind of hard to forget that night, right? So he was telling me that his wife needs a kidney. And I thought, we've got like thousands of people that listen to the show. We have thousands of people that watch the show. We have thousands of people that read my newspaper. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to at least try to help them get the word out about what her situation is. And maybe one of our listeners, one of our readers or followers is in a position where they can help. So why don't you introduce yourself, Kim, and tell people who you are, and then I'll walk you through it. I know you're nervous, but we'll walk you through it.
Okay. My name is Kim Anderson, and I do need a kidney. When I was 12, I was diabetic, and I was one for 35 years, and it was getting so bad that I was unconscious a lot and had to be brought to the hospital because I had it so long that it didn't warn me anymore. So I qualified for a pancreas transplant, and I had that done in 2005, which has been 13 years now. And unfortunately, the anti-rejection drugs they have me on, so I don't reject the organ, is killing my kidneys.
Wow. So now, can you just tell people a little bit about what your day is like while you're waiting?
Well, a lot of times I'm tired. I don't feel like doing anything. I've lost my appetite. I'm losing a lot of weight. And I just can't sleep at night. I'm up half the night, and it's just making me feel very, very tired and not good.
What are the doctors telling you just in terms of timeline, in terms of needing the kidney?
Well, they said that I have maybe 6 months to a year before I need dialysis.
Wow.
So they're trying to schedule something if I get donors and they can be tested. It takes about 2 months to go through all that for people, and they're they're kind of trying to do it in September if possible.
So now, obviously, you have to have a blood type match. What is your blood type?
Yes,
if anybody's listening, and they
O
might
positive.
You're an O positive. Well, that's actually good for you, right? Because isn't that one of the most common O positive?
Yeah.
Am I right about that? Mm-hmm. So if anybody out there is O positive and you are interested in donating a kidney, that's a big ask, right, Mr. Jonathan?
Yes,
Somebody
it is.
donate a kidney. If I didn't have blood problems, I'd give you one of mine. But if anybody's interested, she's O positive. Her name is Kim Anderson, and she needs a kidney, and she's got about 6 months, or God forbid, we may not have her around anymore. How do people get in touch with you? I see you've got this big sign here. Kidney needed, blood type O positive. Please contact me by email, kimkidney1960@gmail.com. kimkidney1960@gmail.com. Now, I would imagine people can also call you. Is there a phone number?
Well, when they email us, I can always give them the phone number.
Okay.
And
right.
Another thing, too, is it would be covered by my insurance, having the procedure done for them at no cost.
The other person would be covered in giving the kidney?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, that's great.
Wow.
And the other thing is if they are, the only thing they won't cover is a physical. They have to be physically fit to go through this. After that, the blood work, everything, this is what we've been told, is going to be covered by Medicare.
Okay.
And further on down the line, if something should happen, say 2 years after they had donated the kidney, something occurs that is contributed to them donating the kidney, then Medicare would pick up that tab.
So that'll also be covered.
Yes.
So this is really a win-win. We have very generous donors. I don't know how generous they are to give a kidney, but we're hoping. But our followers, our readers, they're always giving like socks for the homeless. I had one lady actually spent like $100 out of her pocket and bought shoes for one of the homeless guys that we're helping out and had it express shipped. And so we want to appeal to all of the readers and the followers of the Valley Patriot or this program. If you or somebody that you know might be interested in donating a kidney and you are O positive blood type, to contact Kim Anderson at kimkidney1960@gmail.com.
Is that fully in the shot there?
It's right in the shot.
And I'll go out of my way.
All
We'll
right.
make sure we put something in the print edition of the next Valley Patriot. From this show, we will take this segment and we'll post it separately as its own segment, and we'll put all the information in. And hopefully, somebody out there. Look, we've got 13,000 people follow us on Facebook. We've got another 36,000 people who've downloaded this program. That's an awful lot of people, and that's a good pool to come from. And maybe somebody out there would be. And if someone wants to step forward and they want to donate a kidney, I'll cover the crap out of that story. We will come and take your picture. We will make you a hero. And I promise you, we will put you on the front page of the paper, because that's a huge thing for someone to do.
You can live with one kidney.
Yeah, you can.
So
yeah.
that's really the key. It's a big ask.
Right.
But it's been done plenty of times.
Yeah. And where do you guys live? What town are you in?
We live in Nashua.
You're in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Yep.
So you have to pretend you're from Methuen, and Tim will cover it too.
Okay.
Just say, yeah, I'm from Methuen.
There you go.
I lived in Methuen.
Oh, you did?
I did live in right at the Four Corners. Right
Oh, no
across from the
kidding.
fire
All right, so
station.
that gives you a Methuen
Covered.
connection. Former Methuen
Covered.
resident gets kidney.
And I was born and raised in the city of Lawrence.
Oh, that's great. Where
I'm a
about?
Lawrence boy. All over South Lawrence, Osgood Street. I went to the Breen School.
Oh, no, me too. I went to the Breen School.
That's where I know you from.
You brought up the breed schooler.
I was the last graduating class from the Breen
Oh,
School.
no kidding.
1970.
Wow. I grew up on Boxford Street, 3 houses up from the Breen School.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
Wow.
Yeah, I lived at 100 Osgood Street.
So what is your hope now? Like, while you're going through all of this, Kim, how do you stay positive? How do you go through your day? Like, what do you do for your day, knowing that you've got this looming over you? It's got to be really stressful.
Yeah, it is. But, my husband is so good to me.
Yeah.
And he does everything that I ask him to do to help out. And he goes above and beyond.
Well, that's great.
And there's, I can't ask for any more. And why would I want to let him down and die?
Right.
I want to live. I'm a fighter.
A man who does not suck.
Right. Can you believe
good.
that?
Pretty good.
Right?
I do have my
Well
moments.
played.
I'm sure she kind of feels that way too when we're off the air. What do you do for fun? Like, do you have anything that kind of helps you to distract you in your day? Do you have any kind of hobbies or anything that you do to kind of get your mind off things? Shopping. Oh, all right. Yeah. Very good.
And helping people.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. She never spends anything. She comes, what'd you buy today? Nothing.
Oh. So she shopped all day.
Window shopping.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But
Well,
she's, I couldn't ask for a better soulmate, I'll tell you. She's been great.
well, that's great. The love that you two guys have, I think, is hopefully going to be able to create the good karma that's going to get you somebody to donate a kidney. And we will continue every week to promote this. Can you please keep me abreast as to how things are going, or if you get anybody contact you or anything? We'd love to cover this.
Okay.
It's life and death stuff, and we do a lot of things with the homeless, but they're not dying, and a lot of people reach out and a lot of people help. I'd really love. There's nothing that would make me happier than to know that as the result of this show, we were able to save somebody's life. And
just to get the testing, even.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, everything might not work out, but just put yourself up for the testing.
Right. Absolutely.
A live donor is better than a cadaver, but we've also been in touch with. It'll be done. The transplant up in Dartmouth in Lebanon, New Hampshire, which is quite a ride from here. It's even quite a ride from Nashville. It's like a 2-hour drive up 89. But when they do the transplant, they said either a cadaver or they'd prefer a live donor.
Right.
Live donor, you've got more success with that. Kim had, like she said at the beginning of the show, a pancreas transplant. She was so bad that I had tested her sugar. She was unresponsive one time. Her sugar was 23.
Wow.
You're almost dead at that point.
Yeah.
Kim, through 2 surgeries, to the one be after the other, almost a year to the day, she's died twice on me after being surgery. She's stopped breathing after the pancreas transplant. They got her going again. And I'm not super religious, but I do believe there's a higher power. The woman that revived her, her name was Angela. They called her Angel for short. If you come to our house at Christmas time, we've got angels everywhere.
That's awesome.
The second time, her heart stopped. And, I mean, I had somebody from I don't know where, and she come in that room as fast as she left, but she had her arm around me, and she said she's going to be okay, and they got her heart going again.
Clearly a fighter.
Yeah. Well, listen, we stand with you. We love you. We want you to be around as long as humanly possible. And I am, and I'm going to speak for Tim too, we're going to do everything we can to try and get the word out. There's got to be somebody out there who's willing to do this. And with all the people that follow me and all the people that follow Tim, and I'm going to talk to some of the other people here at Studio 21 Podcast Cafe that do other shows to see, excuse me, to see if we can't find a way to help you out. And if we fail, it won't be for lack of trying, that's for sure.
Thank you so much.
She does have 2 brothers that are getting tested, which would be ideal.
That'd be great.
Right, but we don't know. They're just starting the process.
Right.
It takes 2 to 3 months of all of this to transpire.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and coming in. I'm sure it's probably a little embarrassing, right? And you're probably nervous coming on and doing a show like this. But please keep us informed. Please let us know how things are going. And if anything at all comes across my way about anybody that even seems like they're interested, I'll certainly be happy to pass them along to kimkidney1960@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank
you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
All right, Jonathan, let's bounce into a break. And thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us. I know it wasn't easy.
Hey.
And we are back with the Paying Attention program.
Thank you very much. Hey, we're back to Paying Attention. It's not a radio program. I'm so used to saying Paying Attention radio program, right? The Paying Attention podcast.
It might as well be. It's got a probably better audience than radio.
It does. I'm always shocked when he comes in and says you had 36,000 people download your show. I'm like, are you effing kidding me? I go live in Lawrence. I'm happy if I got a couple thousand people watching, for crying out loud. With me today is, by the way, thank you to Tim and to Ted and Kim Anderson for coming up and sharing their story. Kind of heartbreaking, and we're hoping that there's somebody out there that can help them get a kidney. And boy, you'd hate to have her not be around anymore because people just didn't step up. And if I didn't have a blood condition, I'd be happy to give you one of mine. Sitting with me again is Tim Wood. He is the publisher, owner of Loop Weekly in Methuen. I think it's an amazing product. I think he found a niche that I wish that I could fill. I've been wishing for 14 years I could fill, but I know nothing about sports. Came on board, did his weekly paper, and you actually were smart. You did a free mailing to every household when you first started, which kind of let people know you existed. It let them flip through your paper because it's in their home now, right?
Yes.
And they flip through it, and I think that was a brilliant marketing strategy. I wish we'd thought of that when we started.
I mean, I would have liked to keep it going, quite honestly. We had issues with the post office, and then I got sick. Right. I got sick right around Christmas, and I wasn't out on the street selling advertising anymore. And that is a huge nut to cover when you're talking about the mailing. And I got a lot of feedback. I was so convinced that was the difference maker, and so I almost killed the paper instead of just not mailing it. But I got a lot of feedback from readers saying that isn't the difference maker. It's the content. It's the way you go about covering the town that is the difference maker. And so we tried not mailing. We tried just canvassing the businesses and the schools, and it's working. It's working.
Well, I think it's a good product, and even though we're kind of in competition, we're really not. What we do is very different. Well, not very different, but it's different from what you do. And there is some crossover because we cover politics and you cover politics. But I think we cover it from a different angle. And the real winner are the Methuen residents because they can pick up your paper, they can pick up my paper. If we say two different things, they can decide for themselves.
High tide rises all ships.
I agree.
That's been my theory, and it proves out every time. The more eyeballs you have on things, the more the good news gets covered, and the more the cockroaches have to come out from underneath the appliances.
Right. So let's get back to Methuen. Now we've been talking. We talked on your show. Hopefully people watched it, but if they didn't, they can watch it on Loop Live, Looped In Live on Facebook. I actually tried to find it on Looped In Live, and it was on the regular Loop page. So yeah, we're trying to share them out.
We've got so many more. Likes and visitors on the Loop Weekly Facebook page.
Right.
We started the Looped In Live page, but it's better to have it stationed with the Loop Weekly page, and then we have it on loopweekly.com, Loop TV tab at the top of the page. You'll see all the archives.
Right.
And see your show today.
Excellent. Yeah, and we'll definitely cross over. We'll post. So the Methuen is going through a very difficult financial situation. I wish that I could say it's not their fault. I wish that I could say it's not the fault of the elected officials and really even the fault of the voters, but it really is because for years we have watched as elected officials gave sweetheart deals to people who are on the inside, who gave either jobs or job offers or raises or other things, not because people were doing a great job, but because of who they were and who they supported in the last election, or what they voted on the last time they were an elected official. And I consider that corruption. I don't think corruption is just people stealing money. That's obviously corruption, right?
The Old Boys Network is as much
alive and well
as much of corruption. Old Boys Network, however you want to call it. It's there's a lot of history there, and it happens everywhere. But you said it, and it's. I don't want to be cheesy, but people weren't paying attention.
They weren't.
And if there's any positive result of what's happening in the town now is that people are paying attention. You had
people waking up now.
You had 180 people, myself included, the other night on your feed of the city council. And, I mean, that's a hell of a lot for a city council meeting feed on the internet. Now, if you multiply that, I said this the other day. It's probably the first time that if they ever wanted to measure that the government channel probably got a rating in comparison to the local networks. Because, I mean, when I was out delivering papers, people that would never talk about city politics, about just didn't even want to face it, were watching.
See, there's your number for the last one. 2008.
Oh no, yeah. You got 3,000 views. I'm just saying at any one time.
Right,
you had 160 watching live. You got 3,000 and counting that have
watched it
coming back and watching it.
Right.
So people are paying attention.
Yeah, they're starting to wake up, which is good. And here's the other thing. I don't care. Like, I make comments throughout these live feeds, and I get some hate mail about it, especially some friends of Joyce Campagnon not real happy about some of the things I said about Joyce. But it's not because I don't like Joyce or I'm picking on Joyce. I love Joyce. I just think she's wrong. And sometimes I'm harsh in my comments, but it's not personal.
What was she wrong about here? Other than the fact that she just didn't, she didn't.
She made zero cuts.
She didn't run the meeting the same way that Jennifer did.
Right.
Jennifer's been the chairwoman, and she's.
My problem with Joyce, and again, I love Joyce, but she doesn't know what she's doing. She either didn't read the budget or didn't retain what she was reading, because constantly throughout the process, it was clear she didn't know where she was. And she started off one meeting with, I don't know how to do this. How are we supposed to do this? And then 20 minutes later, someone criticized her, and she said, I've been doing this forever. I know what I'm doing. Well, it can't be both.
No, well, it could be in that situation, though, Tom, because none of them knew what they were doing. And
right.
The city solicitor, the city auditor were giving them conflicting opinions on how to go about this line
but how long has she been an elected official? This is not her first rodeo.
No, it's not.
So she should have known. It shouldn't even have been a matter of asking the solicitor versus the auditor. She's been there since Washington was president. She should know. She should be the one answering the question, going, no, you know what, 5 years ago we had this problem, and here's how we resolved it. And she just really kind of seemed pretty clueless about the whole thing. The one good thing that I like about Joyce, though,
these are the opinions of Tom Duggan. Now, I mean, because you go a little, again, we mentioned this before, you go a little farther. I wouldn't say she was clueless. I would say that.
Well, she certainly seemed clueless.
I would say that at times she was not the most vocal person in the conversation.
So you're more worried about what she's going to think of you for this conversation?
I'm really not. I'm just trying to be because right. I do know that she knows what she's doing. I do know that she cares. I do know
she does care.
I do know that she is one of the most active people out in the community, soliciting other people's input.
Yep.
And that to me is as important in the process as looking like you know what you're doing. I almost respect her more because she isn't polished, and
I do like that about her.
She doesn't sound, look, or act like a politician.
Right, she's not rehearsed.
No, she's not.
That much I like. A lot of them are rehearsed, and she's not.
So
no, but you were there. I got a call from someone who was in the audience during a break. I think it was the last night or the night before. During a break, and apparently. And I don't know who the counselor was, but one of the counselors was complaining about all this work that they were doing and how long it was taking. And I'm told that she turned around and said, look, if you don't like it, get off the council. We're here to do work. If you don't want to do the work, then get the hell out of here.
Yeah. And they almost have to recess at times because she gets very...
Yeah.
She said
she gets worked up.
She said it. She said, if you don't want to do the work, go home. There's people here who want to do it. Stop wasting time.
Right.
Let's get to a vote.
Right. And I got some hate mail from people who are big fans of Joyce, maybe even relatives of Joyce, saying, why are you being mean? You're a reporter. You're not supposed to make these comments. Well, first of all, I'm broadcasting this on my personal page, not the Valley Patriot page. But secondly, I'm not covering this, right? I haven't written any news stories about the Methuen budget. And so I feel perfectly free to give my opinions about the Methuen budget talks. Because as a journalist, I'm not covering it. I'm not ready. I haven't written any stories about it, and as a news person, I haven't gotten into that fray.
And see,
so that gives me the freedom to do what I want.
And that's the tricky situation too, right?
Yeah.
Because I am.
Right.
But I don't see. I don't ascribe to this idea that I can't be objective and still give my opinion.
Right. Objective doesn't mean you don't have an opinion. It means that your opinion doesn't interfere with your news coverage.
Exactly. That I'm not being partial because of my own personal agenda.
Right.
And so I've been hit many times already, just any time. Like the very fact that I even have a show, people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, people deserve to have both of that.
Right.
I believe.
Right.
It is hard work at times to be objective in this situation.
And it's hard to get people to understand because people don't get what journalism is today because there's so much bad journalism out there.
God.
So they think, oh, well, Tom has an opinion, therefore he's biased, therefore his news is biased. That's not true. I can hate, I can hate school committee member Smith in Andover. I can hate the guy. And if he does something good, I'm going to write he did something good. Willie Lantigua and I viscerally hated each other when he was mayor. He could not handle the fact that I criticized him in the way that I criticized him. I certainly wasn't happy about the fact that he went on Spanish language radio and called me a racist every day. But he would still call me and say, hey, listen, here's something that I think you might be interested in. And I could have a conversation with him as a professional, and we could discuss it, and we could work out whatever it is that he wanted to work out, and then hang up the phone and hate each other later on. That's being a professional. So just because someone has an opinion doesn't mean that they're biased in their news coverage. And I get this a lot when I'm criticizing Democrats on something. I criticized Marie Sweeney in, I think, Tewksbury or Wilmington, and she went on her Facebook page. Instead of picking up the phone and calling me, she went on her Facebook page and she savaged me, and all the comments under it was, well, he's a Republican. What do you expect? Well, guess what? I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Republican. So
I don't know what the hell you are, honestly.
I'm really not anything. I'm really not
his
anything.
initials of his party would be AH, I believe.
Asshole?
That's
Let's start my own asshole party.
I see the Ashholes.
The Ashholes. Great show.
Yeah.
Right? I like to watch Radio TNT. Is that what it's called, Radio TNT?
Political TNT.
Political TNT. Boy, that's a great show. You guys really need to watch that. If you want to have fun, that's a good show to watch.
So, I mean, what I respect, though, is you're accountable, okay? Like, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. My motto in life that came from my dad is you're not about your successes.
Right.
You are about how you handle your mistakes. Mm-hmm. And if I make a mistake, I own it. We move on.
Right.
So, but and again, I'm not perfect. I'm not like teaching a master class on journalism by any means, but I get so frustrated by, for instance, the Boston media swoops in a lot of times into the Merrimack Valley and does the sexy headline and is completely irresponsible in how they report they don't even report
They don't even
facts.
try. They don't even try.
And then they're just gone, and then everybody else in the town's left to deal with the collateral damage of this widespread story that now is on the Boston stations, and it's even listen. I am shocked, and I wanted to ask your opinion on this. I am shocked that the Boston media has not got more into this. I mean, police making $500,000. That is a sexy headline.
It sure is.
If I'm the PR guy, that I'm pushing that headline.
Yep.
How come the Boston media haven't?
Yep. Jeff Kuhner's the only one that I know on RKO that's touched this.
Yeah, and BZ Radio covered it a little bit, but even when Jeffrey swooped in, I wanted to call. He kept getting the busy signal because he didn't have his facts straight.
He had half the story.
Yes.
This is part of the problem in the media is they get half a story. They don't want to research the rest of it. And then they put out half the story.
Yeah.
Now, it's different if it's an opinion. If you're doing an opinion show and you just want to give your opinion on something, fine. You don't really need to do research. It's your opinion. Everybody kind of knows going in that that's your opinion. But if you're doing a news story, you really should do your homework. But here's the thing. If you present half a story, and then after it comes out, someone calls you and says, hey, you presented half a story, you should go out and do the homework and then present the whole story. Like, go out, just fix it.
That's responsible.
I own my mistakes publicly. I always own my mistakes publicly because to me, it's not about me. To me, it's about the people who follow me getting the correct information and knowing that if they keep coming back, that if I got something wrong, they're going to get the right story at the end of the day. That if I make a mistake, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to. I said the day that I got filed with a lawsuit that even if we win a complete dismissal in the first round, even if we get everything thrown out of court, but during that process, someone shows me I got something wrong, I'll correct it. Even though the judge tells me I don't have to, I'm going to correct it because that's just what I do. Because I don't care if people think less of me that I made a mistake. I just don't. If you're such a weak-minded person that you're going to attack someone because they made a mistake or they got something wrong, well, that's on you. I really couldn't care less. I don't pretend to be perfect. I don't pretend to know everything about everything. I know what I know or what I think I know. I present it, and from time to time I get something wrong. We go in the notebook, we correct it. And I think the readers are the winners when you do it that way. I think your followers, your readers, your supporters, they're the winners at the end of that day because, yeah, I might have a little egg on my face, but there's always tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm going to write something great that they're going to like, and they'll completely forget what I said the day before that might have been wrong.
And that is the problem that I have with politicians. It's the problem that I have with some people in the middle of this process. Admit when you've made mistakes.
Right.
Like this contract was a mistake, and with this police contract was a mistake. There are counselors on this council that were on that council, and there are some that are owning that mistake. And if you tell me, listen, I didn't read it as thoroughly as I should, I didn't know.
Right.
I can at least accept that if you can be honest about
right.
it. But at the beginning of this process, when the mayor grandstanded about the police budget bankrupting the city and being untenable, and Steve Saber is the one. Steve Saber and Jim McCarty both called him on this concept that, like, we deserve to know, because Tom Kelly mentioned that there were two counselors that the city auditor told about his concerns with this contract, and it fell on, according to Kelly, it fell on deaf ears with the mayor, and it fell on deaf ears with these counselors. And that was before the council vote.
Right.
They brought this up and said, listen, we deserve to know who those counselors were, and it's the council's right. They can implore. Kelly works for the council. They
right.
can implore him to say it.
Well, you would think he works for the council, but it kind of seems like he's working for the mayor.
Well, and I think if the mayor's office had its way, the solicitor and the auditor would report to the mayor, but they don't.
Right.
And in the middle of that, the mayor, Mayor Jajuga, jumped in and said, "I am not here to deal with what happened. I'm here to deal with what's ahead of us." And listen, you do need to deal with what's ahead of you. And I don't think they've dealt fast enough with what's in front of them. So I was willing to go there with him, but it hasn't been dealt with fast enough. It's June 21st. If this is not dealt with, if they don't have a budget they can pass, and they've made it clear, the city council's made it clear, they're not passing the budget. They're not voting on the budget, and they will keep rejecting the budget until it's in a correct form that they can have a proper vote on it. And we're not there.
Right.
And it's largely because of the adjusting the school budget, and also this concept that this contract doesn't exist. They voted on it. It is a valid contract.
Right. There's two things that need to happen. There needs to be an investigation as to how we got here, for sure. And it needs to be like by the Attorney General or somebody. Well, actually, maybe not, because she's got some political strings.
The Office of the the Office of the Investigator General, I think it's called OIG. I can't think of what it.
Inspector General.
Thank you, Inspector General. So it's that. I mean, it will go into the Attorney General's office, but you're right. There are some conflicts.
Right. There needs to be
well.
two things. One, an investigation as to how we got here, and a real investigation, not one of these political investigations. And two, we need to find a way to fix the problem that we have now and plug the holes in the boat. And I see a lot of goodwill, even among councilors that I don't really like all that much personally, but I see a lot of goodwill in the council as far as trying to get to real numbers and trying to find a way to solve this problem. I watch the meetings, and I see even like Mr. Hamilton, who he's a young kid. He's what is he like? He's like 20 years old. He ran for the job, and he's making some very tough decisions. And I think he's probably a little over his head right now a little bit because of his age and his inexperience. but he's trying like hell.
He's doing the work. He's asking the questions.
Yeah.
He's not getting everything right. None of them are.
Right.
But at least I can say he's doing the work.
Yeah, he is.
It's a cluster. It just is. It is just. I've covered a lot. Unfortunately, there's people that have lived in Methuen forever. People who have lived in the Merrimack Valley forever. I mean, I'm born in New England. I grew up in New England. Once I went away to school at Fordham, I've been a vagabond. I've lived in a lot of different places, chasing dreams, and the benefit of that is you do get to see how it's done elsewhere.
Right.
This is the worst I've seen in terms of just like how we got here and how we're going to get out of it. Like you said, it's
corruption.
I would put money right now on. I would put money on receivership at this point. I as a resident of the city, I hate to say that.
Right.
Because
I knew for sure you guys were going to end up in receivership when the mayor got up and said, we can borrow $4 million, but we really should borrow a lot more because there's other things that we might not know about coming down the road. And as soon as he said that, it just brought me back to Kevin Sullivan back in like the early 80s in Lawrence doing the exact same thing. And it's a formula. You borrow a little bit more than what you want and maybe a lot more than what you want, and that drives property taxes down. People start selling their homes. And the next thing you know, you've got a cascade effect of you're not bringing as much money in taxes, which means you have to borrow more money. And the next thing you know, you're under receivership because you just can't make your bills.
To be fair, I will say in terms of how much debt they're carrying, Methuen, before this bond, they're pretty low comparatively to the Merrimack Valley. They're carrying about $4 million.
But you've got no money in your reserves.
No.
I blame the last mayor for that.
No, there's zero, and they're talking about taking the last $800,000 to put against the school budget. I just can't believe. They should cut
$10 million out of that school budget. Make Judy Scannell make the cuts at the mid-level administrative positions, and give the money to the cops.
I wasn't here. I mean, Dennis DeZoglio. Everybody tells me Dennis DeZoglio left with $17 million in the reserve fund.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what was your opinion of him as a mayor?
I didn't know him as a mayor. I really didn't start following politics until Sharon Pollard came along.
Okay.
I know what you know from what people have told me,
right,
that he was extremely financially capable of handling just about anything. And it's probably more a testament to his genius in what he was doing than it was that there was any kind of formula anybody else can follow.
What do you make of this whole argument now that's coming out of this about mayor versus town manager government? Because that is gaining some steam in Methuen right now, this idea of bringing it before the Charter Commission and putting it to a vote with the people in terms of changing it back to a town manager.
Yeah, I don't know. I live in North Andover. We have a town manager. And you have just as many problems with what we've been talking about today with a town manager that you have with the mayor, except the town manager isn't accountable to the public. As long as he keeps 3 of the 5 members of the Board of Selectmen on his side, and he hires the right people, and he does the right little pet projects that they want, the guy can basically go out and shoot 15 people. He's not going to lose his job. Whereas mayor, you really have to be held accountable. When the mayor walked out of that meeting rather than listening to the public, I think that was his biggest political blunder, and I think he's going to pay for it dearly.
Yeah.
And it's only because if you're a mayor, think about this, forget who's involved. If you're a mayor and you've got this big contentious thing going on with your budget and the public is upset, wouldn't you want to be there to listen to them? Wouldn't you want to hear them come after you and then be able to answer them and say, listen, I understand why you feel that way, and maybe we can work together on this? I mean, I would think that any person who really, truly respects the voters and respects that you work for the voters would want to be there, even if you're going to take slings and arrows.
The weird part about that, like I said in a post, the last school committee meeting, he actually did that. He got up to leave to go to a retirement party. He took the temperature of the room, and he realized he needed to come back.
Right.
And then that was a way smaller crowd. You got a just overflow crowd in your chamber, and you walk out. It was just absolutely mind-boggling.
I think everybody, whether it was intended that way or not, I think everybody in that room took it as a slap in the face.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think if I was sitting in that room, I'd take it as a slap in the face, too. You're the mayor of the city, and people want to get up there and they want to call you names and they want to yell and scream at you, you should let them do that. Look, I go on my Facebook page on any given day. There's somebody calling me an asshole. There's somebody calling me a racist. I don't block them. Very few exceptions. I don't block them. I don't take their comments down.
And you're not an elected official.
Right.
You didn't run for this.
Right.
I mean, listen, I feel for him. I do. I mean, that sucks.
He's in a very difficult position, although one of his making, but he's still in a very difficult position, and he's got to solve it. And whether or not he has a political future after this is going to depend on whether or not he solves it in a way that makes him look like the good guy.
Hey, just real quick. So Stashi's Pizza,
yep.
They donated
last night? Stashi's Pizza donated last night to the Movement Family Dinner at the Buckley Garage for the homeless. We had Five Dragons Karate School in Haverhill donated 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then we had Jocelyn's in Salem, New Hampshire last week or the week before donated a foot for 25 people. It was
phenomenal.
it was gourmet food. It was gourmet Jocelyn's Lebanese food. We're always looking for
when you
businesses.
can support people, and listen, you've thrown some compliments my way. We don't agree on a lot of the politics stuff, but what you do with the veterans, what you've done with the Heroes in the Myths book, what you're doing in terms of supporting the homeless, supporting Michael Gorman and what he's doing, it's amazing. It's why, like, anybody who's criticizing you, I'm like, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention to the full picture? You've got your own narrative, but you're not paying attention to the full picture.
Right. I have people call me a racist.
And what are you doing?
Right, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
Kim and his name was Ted, right?
Yeah.
Kim and Ted knew to leave a jacket because you're going to be seeing homeless people at some point this week.
Right.
They had an extra jacket, so they brought it, and they left it because they know it'll get to the right hands.
Yeah, he came in. He said, "I got a woman's jacket. I know you're helping with the homeless."
There's a guy looking for a woman looking for a kidney, and she leaves a jacket.
Right.
What are you doing?
Right. So, listen, I have people all the time, like, I'll come on and I'll make a comment about Trump, about how I agree with something Trump did or immigration, and it's, you're a racist. Well, I don't know any racists that go out and raise money for scholarships for Latino kids at Lawrence High School. I don't know any members of the Klan doing that. And what people need to do is look at the full picture. Before you try and pigeonhole somebody and simplify who they are, just kind of take a 30,000-foot view and actually assess the entire situation.
I had to plead like a lawyer with a couple of folks, sponsors. When we worked together, when you asked me to donate to the bash. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're giving scholarships to kids.
It's not going in my pocket.
And again, I'm not trying to, like, put the kid, but I mean, come on, see the full picture.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, you're working with Tom. Well, you know what? Yeah, for what he's doing for creating scholarships at this bash, you're damn right. Yeah. I'm working, and you got a problem with that? Come on.
Wrong. Well, listen, how sad is it that there are people who won't help homeless people or won't help children because they don't like the person who's doing the helping? Like, if they don't like me, they're gonna make the kids suffer. They're gonna make the homeless. But what does that say about them? It says they're pretty disgusting human beings.
And you have your own concerns, like you say. You put the tab at the place. You want them to get a meal. Don't
give them money.
Don't tell me you need money and then go and then use it, in bad ways.
Right. So never give a homeless person money. They'll use it for drugs. But if they're hungry and they say they need money for food, go through a drive-thru and get them some food. And then you'll find out real quick whether they're full of shit or they're not. And the people that I try to work with in Lawrence, I've got about 5 people that I'm working with right now that are homeless. I carefully pick the people that I work with. One of them's name is Ralph. My newest project is Ralph. My first night, I pulled up to the bus stop, and I had like 5 pairs of socks. And I asked, he was sitting with 3 other guys, does anybody need socks? And nobody spoke up. And then Ralph said, yeah, I could use a pair of socks. So he came to the back of my car. I said, I got 5 pairs of socks. How many do you want? He said, well, if you can give me the whole 5, that'd be great. So I said, fine. I gave him the 5. I watched him walk back over to the bench and give a pair of socks or 2 pairs of socks to all the other people on the bench who were afraid to speak up. He realized that they were afraid to speak up. And instead of keeping the 5 pairs of socks for himself, he turned around and gave them to some of the other homeless people sitting on the bench. I said, that's the kind of guy I want to help. That's the kind of guy that could use my help, and that's the kind of guy that deserves my help.
And he's connected in with a network. It's not like you're just helping one guy at that point. You're helping the 5 closest people to him as well.
He's paying it forward. So, you can not like me. That's fine. You don't have to like me, but don't make the kids.
We can have multiple layers of where we connect.
Right.
It doesn't.
Unless you like your eggs
black and white.
sunny side up.
Right. Yeah. We don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
No part of that. We want to thank our sponsors. But before we do, one more thing. If we can stretch this out. We get Steve Sweeney tomorrow night, June 22nd, at Salvatore's Restaurant. He's doing a comedy series. And let me see. It's the dinner's at 6:30. Show starts at 8:30. And I'm going to be there. I've got a table, so come over and say hi to me.
Is it tickets still available?
Tickets are still available. You can even get tickets at the door. I'm going to share this on I'm going to share the Eventbrite page on my page.
Anniversary event, Debbie. Let's do it.
Yep. And I want to thank Tim Wood from Methuen Loop Weekly for producing a great product. I respect and admire anybody that can do that, no matter what their product is. You have a great newspaper. And also for being open-minded enough to see people as a little bit more complicated than what everybody tells you they are. Not just me, but other people. So thank you for that.
Right back at. I can't say it better than that in terms of right back at you.
Right, Mr. Jonathan, the voice of God. Thank you for being here, and thank you very much, Rich Russell.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.